Hello and welcome to this special coverage on CNBC TV 18 Motown, the Green Divide. I'm Shireen Bhan, and joining me on the show today is Ronojoy Banerjee. Also on the show we'll be joined by some special guests. Now come 1st of April, the country will see a pan-India rollout of Bharat Stage 4 emission norms. Now BS4 is already applicable in almost all major cities including Delhi, NCR, which is the National Capital Region, including Gurgaon, Noida, etc., Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata and Hyderabad. The April deadline for the BS4 switchover has industry divided. Some believe that they are well within the law to sell BS3 vehicles manufactured prior to April 1, even after the deadline of April 1. Others believe that the sale of BS3 vehicles post-April 1 is a cop-out and penalizes manufacturers who have prepared for greener emission regime. Now, to debate these issues, representing a section of the auto industry on the panel today is Vinod Dasari, President of SIAM, also with Ashok, Leyland, also with us Shekhar Viswanathan of Toyota Kirloskar, Sunita Narain, Director General of the Centre for Science and Environment, who's also a member of the EPCA, which is the Supreme Court appointed environment watchdog. Appreciate you joining us here on the show. Mr. Dasari, if I could start by asking you, and there's a reason why I said that today you represent only a certain section of automakers, because SIAM is clearly split on the issue of the switchover to BS4. Now, you represent the section that believes that vehicles that were manufactured prior to April 1 should be allowed to be sold even after April 1. What is the logic for that?
Well, first and foremost, Shane, thank you very much for inviting me. Let me tell you some facts. Any switchover that has happened from whether it was from BS1 to BS2 or BS2 to BS3, such switch always has been from the date of manufacture and not from the date of sale. And this is not only an Indian precedent, this is the global norm everywhere in the world. It is always the date of manufacture and not date of sale. So, second thing I wanted to say is that commercial vehicle manufacturers like Ashok, Leyland and Tata Motors and others, we have been making BS4 vehicles since 2010. All of these cities which you mentioned in your earlier initial preamble, we have been selling buses and trucks in those cities, and they have all been selling as BS4. So it's not like lack of capability to make BS4 vehicles. We can make BS4 vehicles. I think one of the things that is missed is that if you put a BS3 fuel into a BS4 vehicle, and now I'm talking more about commercial vehicles, a BS3 fuel has 350 parts per million of sulfur, whereas a BS4 vehicle has 50 parts per, BS4 fuel has 50 parts per million. So if you put a BS3 fuel, even if it's unadulterated, into a BS4 vehicle, it is likely to stop. Because unlike BS3, in BS4 vehicles, you have something called onboard diagnostics, which are sensors built in. Today, if a BS3 vehicle suddenly for some odd reason does not
Mr. Dasari, I don't mean to interrupt you, sir. I don't mean to interrupt you, and you make a valid point about the availability of fuel, but I'll come back to that issue. In fact, since you're talking about that, let me just add to that. This is from the Ministry of Oil's website, sir, and as of the 15th of March 2015, even the remaining 24 cities had been supplied with BS4 auto fuels. This is from the Oil Ministry's own website, sir. Between 2013 and 14, 26 cities had been supplied with BS4 fuels. The remaining 24 cities, taking the total target number to 50, was already done by March of 2015, and today we're in February of 2016. But I'll come to fuel in just a second, Mr. Dasari. Since you talked about the fact that this is a precedent in India, that date of manufacture is what should apply and not date of sale. But then doesn't the April 1 deadline become a redundant deadline?
It's a precedent worldwide. It's not just a precedence in India.
Sure, it may be a... Okay, but have you stopped, for instance, have manufacturers stopped producing BS3 vehicles, or the April 1 deadline becomes meaningless if you're still continuing to produce BS3 vehicles?
No, it doesn't become redundant. First of all, no manufacturer will make any BS3 vehicles from April 1st. Secondly, to make sure that it's not just the letter of the law but also the spirit of the law that we are going to meet, what we have offered is said that, look, For a commercial vehicle, we not only make the vehicles, we give it to our dealers who does some modifications to it, and then 95 to 100% of the time, the customer either makes a cabin or makes a body and sometimes makes a bus on top of it, and they take some time. So typically, even today if you calculate, the inventory level in the entire pipeline is between 10 weeks to 16 weeks. So let's take the bottom end of the 10 weeks. If you look at our sales, the commercial vehicle industry is selling about 60,000 vehicles. So the bottom end of this pipeline is 10 weeks is 150,000 vehicles. We said to be in the spirit of the law, we will cut our inventories and have no more than 75,000 vehicles at the all together, all manufacturers, all pipeline together will have less than half of the normal lowest level of inventories to make sure that we bring in BS4 as fast as possible. Our worry, today I can sell BS4 vehicle, but if a customer of mine actually puts BS3 vehicle in it by mistake because he's on the highway, while many cities are covered, not all the highways are covered. If anywhere in the highway he puts a BS3 vehicle, his vehicle will stop. By design,
so
the vehicle is designed to stop.
You're blaming this on non-availability of BS4 fuel. You're blaming not switching over to the non-availability of BS4
Well,
fuel.
when we had capability since 2010, partly.
Okay, let me bring in Sunita Narain.
BS4 vehicles since 2010, but we haven't been able to sell BS4 vehicles. The only reason is lack of fuel.
Okay, Sunita Narain, this is an old argument that the auto industry has put forward. There is some legitimacy and some truth to that argument as well. But as a member of the EPCA, you've of course been talking to the auto industry, but you've also been talking to the oil ministry. Does the argument of the auto industry wash when it says that, look, we cannot do much, we have the capability to switch over to BS4, but there's no BS4 fuel available pan-India?
No, Shireen, it does not wash, because for the first time, the oil industry is actually going to make sure that as of 1st of April 2017, nationwide, we have BS4 fuel. So the question I have, and that's what EPCA has been asking the industry, and in October when we had our advance meeting with industry, that was the point we were saying, that if as of April you're going to get BS4 fuel available, then can you make sure that you reduce your production for BS3, you plan your production in a way that you ramp up production of BS4, so that as of 1st of April you have exhausted stocks of BS3, or you're left with minimal stocks of BS3, and you have moved all your production line to BS4 in time for the clean fuel availability. Now, even today when we just had a meeting with parts of the industry, there is still production of BS3 continuing. So please understand what is our concern. Any vehicle on the road survives for 10 years to 15 years. And for commercial vehicles, there is an 80% reduction in the particulate matter between BS3 and BS4. So we want cleaner vehicles to come on the road. If anything is bought now, will last for 10 years. So we want no stocks to be there, and we want the transition to happen. I think that's what Mr. Dasari and we have been having a good discussion on this, but please understand, our effort is to move the country as fast as possible to BS4, and we know that there are companies ready today. Why should they not be rewarded?
Ms. Sunita Narain, in fact, you have been speaking with the industry for quite some time now. Can you give us an update as of today? Has there been any headway, any indications of a possible breakthrough as far as the issue of the unsold BS3 stock is concerned?
No, we just concluded a meeting with the two-wheeler industry. Two-wheelers are very large in volume, as you know, and therefore we are equally concerned by them. We have agreed with the two-wheeler industry and also requested SIAM. We've just asked that on the 20th of March, we are calling a final meeting by when all the stock position of all the companies are down, and we are also wanting to know where the stocks remain seen in which RTO, so that if at all there is to be any space given to say, okay, another month we'll have to do BS3, we need to know which part of the country, how many vehicles are there. But as of now, no breakthrough. The only thing is, and I do appreciate Mr. Dasari's effort, they have made an effort to reduce the inventory, but still, we believe that any BS4 truck sold as of 1st of April means for another 10 years, we have that much more pollution to deal with.
Okay, so you're saying that there has so far been an effort on the part of industry to bring down inventory, Sunita, but at the same time you're saying that production continues. Production of BS3 vehicles continues, yes, whether it's two-wheelers or commercial vehicles. And you're also saying that as of today, there has been no extension granted to the April 1 timeline.
No. No, absolutely
okay, Sunita,
not.
One quick question.
Please.
Oh.
Yes.
No, I also want one clarification from you, Sunita, because, the government seems to be missing from this conversation. I mean, the EPCA is a Supreme Court appointed body. The government is basically saying or suggesting that, look, we put out a notification in April 2015, or was it May 2015, and that notification stands. And beyond that, we actually haven't heard the government intervene in this discussion so far. Has the EPCA had a conversation with the government in the past week or 10 days since we've actually seen this issue divide industry?
No, good question, Shireen. Shireen, we have not had a discussion simply because this issue had come up even when the transition happened between BS3 and BS4 in the limited cities, including Delhi. And it also happened when we moved from BS2 to BS3. And at each time, industry and EPCA have worked or not worked to have this dialogue to say that the date of manufacture may be the notification date, but the intent of the law is, and the spirit of the law is, that you will stop both manufacture in time so that you can actually be selling BS4 vehicles only as of a particular date. So even the last time we had actually got inventory numbers from industry and they had worked with us to reduce inventories. And I'm surprised that this time after October when we had the discussion that they did not, I think they did make an effort, but perhaps the fact is that there is so much business in BS3 that they still have not moved to BS4. I can't understand this. Why not BS4?
Okay, Sunita, one quick question before I toss it across to Ron. The jurisdiction of the EPCA has also been questioned by industry that, your regulation or your jurisdiction applies to the NCR region. Is it true that the EPCA has written to the chief secretaries of all states asking for a switch over to BS4 come the 1st of April?
We have, Shireen, and for the simple reason that, the BS4 notification has to do with national permit vehicles. Now, national permit vehicles travel across India, including NCR. Therefore, our argument is that if you continue to register, please understand, Shireen, what's been happening in India till now. Because trucks are allowed to be registered under national permit, not a single BS4 truck has been registered in India in spite of the fact that you've had BS4 fuel available at least in Delhi and in 23 other cities. Now, the argument has been that we have to travel from Chennai to Delhi and therefore we need clean fuel all along and we're registered under national permit. So EPCA's argument to them is that because it is national permit and national permit vehicles enter the NCR, we have to make sure that across the country, now that clean fuel is available, that they will all register only clean vehicles.
Those are very important clarifications you're giving us, Sunita. In fact, we'll also get a reaction from Vinod in just a bit. But to bring in Mr. Viswanathan also into this conversation, because Toyota is an important player. Toyota was one of the manufacturers which was worst affected by the Supreme Court ban on 2000cc plus vehicles. Innova was, of course, in that list. But Toyota this time has come out in completely supporting the EPCA's position. And, and earlier today we also spoke with Rajiv Bajaj, and we'll be playing that interview in just a short while. He made a point, and on which I want your reaction, Mr. Viswanathan, because he said that if you do not penalize, players who are still producing BS3 vehicles, in effect, what you're saying is that manufacturers like Toyota, like Bajaj Auto, who may have upgraded to BS4 long back, who may have had to also take a price increase on their vehicles, they are being disadvantaged because of actually following the spirit of the law. Would you agree with that, Mr. Viswanathan?
No, first of all, I'd like to make it very, very clear to everybody over here that there are many companies which have complied with the law more than a year ago. We produce only BS4 vehicles and we offer for sale only BS4 vehicles. And we are not alone. There are many other auto companies which are doing that. So we are well within, not only within the legal part of the law, but also within the spirit of the law. As far as the sale of vehicles beyond April 1st is concerned, I believe all of the auto companies are within the law there. If the IPCA was very, very keen that after April 1st no BS3 vehicles should be sold, then the law should have been written that way. The law has not been written that way, and you cannot penalize people for just following the law. We followed the law, and yet we were penalized at an earlier point in time. So this is the only point that I wish to make. The law has been written in a particular manner. The auto industry is following that law, and I think we have to respect the law. If a change had to be made, it should have been done 6 months ago.
You're saying that the auto industry is well within the law, and which has been acknowledged by everybody. If you go by a plain reading of the notification put out by the government, and as we said, the government has not intervened so far in this matter. But Mr. Viswanathan, the argument that some players or some manufacturers are making, what do you make of that? Yes, they might be within the notification, but when they say that, look, we're not being able to switch over because there's a fuel availability issue, we're not being able to switch over not because of capability but because of other miscellaneous issues. As a member of the very same industry, you've chosen to take a different position. How do you react to those who are saying that it's not our fault, it is external situations and external circumstances that are forcing us to stay with BS3?
Let me explain this to you. There are different segments within the auto sector. Certain segments have a very long supply chain, which can, in effect, prevent them from, complying with this particular provision as it exists today beyond April 1st. I think that's the reality of the situation which you have to accept. But had you said that both manufacture and selling will be stopped forthwith from April 1st, then the planning would have itself gone behind by 6 months. So today you can't sit in a position and say that they should follow this provision of not selling vehicles beyond April 1st, because the law doesn't stipulate that.
Sure. And Sunita, that is the fact of the matter, is it not?
I know that certain companies would be hurt, but...
Yes, Sunita, go ahead.
Listen, let's be clear. I agree. It is the law. The law says that it's the date of manufacture. However, everybody knows that it was the quality of fuel that was stopping the sale of BS4 commercial vehicles. It's two segments that are of concern over here. The segment that Mr. Viswanath represents is not a concern. They're really, only the taxi segment is of concern over there, really not the car segment. The big concern is trucks, okay? Now, we know trucks are a very major cause of pollution in this country. We know that that is something that we have all been fighting to try and reduce. A big opportunity for reduction is when the quality of fuel is improved as of 1st of April. So what all we are saying is, if you knew that the biggest obstacle for changeover was the quality of fuel, that was happening in April, why did you not plan your inventories, your production, to make sure that as of 1st of April you only sold? BS4 because you also want this country to have cleaner air. You know that each BS3, the difference between BS3 to BS4 is 80% reduction in particulate matter. It's substantially better. So if the fuel is available, sell only BS4 vehicles. Don't throw the law in my face. Because I have to breathe air, not the law.
No, absolutely. But let me get Mr. Dasari to respond to that. Mr. Dasari, you want to respond to the point that Sunita is making? And yes, please go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to say, first and foremost, that we have been working with Sunita and she knows us well. So I admire what she's trying to do. I had explained to her and she appreciated the fact that the truck industry, which normally carries 10 to 16 weeks of stock, to be in the spirit of the law, to reduce the inventory as much as possible, we are reducing it to 4 to 5 weeks. So that means whatever I produce till March 31st, within 4 to 5 weeks, that is the inventory that is left. But Shireen, let me ask you this question, which is quite simple. My customers sometimes buy a vehicle and sometimes they take 2 to 3 months to build a body or a bus or something on it. I can't control that. It's not a car, it's not a two-wheeler. 95% of the trucks sold in this country are sold without a cab. So my customer buys from a dealer, takes it out to make a cabin on it. Then he takes it to another place and makes a body on it. These things take time. Regardless, we said we are shutting down BS3 inventory or BS3 production progressively so that we cut down this lead time. Now, I can't give a specific date when all of this will be done. The way to control this is to reduce the amount of inventory, which we are doing. Now, I will leave you with one more thought. I had mentioned earlier that if you take a BS3 fuel and put it into BS4 vehicle, it will cause problems. The vehicle is designed by law to go into half torque. Now, while nationwide there will be BS4 fuel available, my worry, and this is a concern that I have, that Northeast, I am told, will still not have BS4 vehicles. So how does a vehicle with a national permit go there? I hope there is a solution to this before April 1st. Otherwise, it could lead to accidents. Because the vehicles that are going in Northeast in the hills, if the torque suddenly goes to half, it could cause problems.
Right. So, we do hope that is a solution. But
it's
Mr.
different
Dasari,
for cars and two-wheelers and it's different for commercial vehicles.
Understood, sir. But if you can give us some sense, sir, so are you saying that all BS3 production will stop beginning March, or will you wait till the 31st of March to stop production of BS3, sir?
No, right now the demand is for BS3. Okay, so we will produce what the customer wants.
This is the point.
So, but no manufacturer will produce any vehicle from April 1st.
This is the point.
Shireen and Ms. Narain, let me also ask one question. Let me just ask one question and I will stop my argument. World over, auto industry has taken 8 to 10 to 12 years to go from BS4 to BS6. Auto industry has accepted, the commercial vehicle industry has accepted to it in 3 years. From 2020 onwards, the country will move from BS4 to BS6 directly. Nowhere else in the world has been done. Why doesn't anybody appreciate the fact that the auto industry is taking such a humongous step with no knowledge of how to accomplish this? And the reason I can't go to BS6 today, once again, is lack of fuel. If I had the fuel today, we have already displayed the technology of BS6.
No, Mr. Dasari, just if I may interrupt you, and I'll get Sunita to comment as well. You're saying that the auto industry will continue to manufacture BS3 till the 31st of March. So then what is the inventory management that we're talking about? Because that means you're adding to the stock of BS3, aren't you?
Exactly, Shireen.
No. We are cutting out, we are actually looking at how to slow down the production. We are cutting out the supply chain because from April 1st I can't make it anyway. So we're cutting out the supply chain. Whatever is the tail end, the number of vehicles that we produce will start slowly but surely start to come down. And by March 31st it will go down to zero. It is not a cliff event, Shireen. It does not stop like that. But we will slowly bring it down because we have to purge the inventory. Otherwise, how do I bring down the inventory, which is today, by the way, the total pipeline inventory of commercial vehicles is 16 weeks. We are saying that by the end of March 31st, it will come down to 5 weeks. That means we have to knock out nearly 11 weeks of inventory between now and March 31st. It can only happen if we slow down this pipeline, right? So that's what we are doing.
Okay.
But if I had
Sunita,
to say that no vehicle to be sold from April 1st, I should have stopped manufacturing way back in December.
Sure.
Yes,
go ahead,
exactly, Mr. Dasari. I think that's this is only where we are differing. And, I think, at the end of the day, Shireen, at some level, we've all lost because if, as I see it, the bottom line is twofold. One, if we didn't get clean fuel, we couldn't get a national permit. Now that we have clean fuel, we should have made sure that only clean vehicles are registered as of 1st of April. To do that, the inventory management of the commercial vehicles should have been that you would have reduced your production, in fact switched your production from BS3 to BS4 from December, January, February, March. Then what Mr. Dasari is saying, I agree with him. The chassis would have taken another 4 months, but as of December, if the vehicle, BS3 vehicle, had gone to make a chassis, it would have been registered by April. This is the switch over that we were expecting industry to do. This is all we were expecting. And especially because we know that the difference between BS3 and BS4 is large. And even though Mr. Dasari has been very good, and I think his industry has been good to bring down the number, but still 75,000 as of 1st of April means multiply that with 80% more particulates from every one of those over their life as compared to the new truck that would have come onto the road. Think about it and think about your air. That's all.
All right, Sunita, Mr. Dasari and Shekhar, we're going to have to take a break, but we will continue our special conversation right here on CNBC TV 18. Don't go anywhere.